What would you do if someone living in your house, spending your money, called you worthless to your face? Hi everyone. Before we dive into today's incredible story, I want you to drop a comment, give a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Also, tell us where you're watching from, whether it's your cozy living room in Texas, a coffee shop in London, or maybe you're taking a break at work in Sydney. We love connecting with our amazing viewers from around the world. Now, let me tell you about the most satisfying moment of my 67-year-old life, the day I taught my daughter-in-law that quiet doesn't mean weak. My name is Eleanor, and for 5 years, I lived what I thought was a peaceful arrangement with my son Marcus and his wife, Charlotte. After my husband Robert passed away, Marcus begged me not to sell our family home. "Come live with us, Mom," he said, tears in his eyes. "We'll take care of you." I thought I was walking into a loving family situation. Instead, I walked into a masterclass in manipulation. You see, Charlotte had this way of making me feel small without ever raising her voice. It started subtly, little comments here and there. "Oh, Eleanor, you're wearing that cardigan again," she'd say with a sweet smile that never reached her eyes. Or, "Maybe we should get you some new clothes from the thrift store downtown. I saw some lovely pieces there." She genuinely believed I was struggling financially. I let her believe it. The truth? I was worth over $8 million. The house they thought they owned? Still legally mine. The monthly mortgage payments Marcus made? They went straight into my savings account. But I kept quiet, wearing my old sweaters and shopping at discount stores, because I wanted to see who they'd become when they thought I had nothing to offer. The breaking point came on a rainy Tuesday evening in November. Charlotte had invited her book club over, 12 women from her yoga studio, all sipping wine and discussing some bestseller I'd never heard of. I was in the kitchen, quietly cleaning up after dinner, when I heard my name. "Honestly, I don't know how much longer I can do this," Charlotte's voice carried from the dining room. "She's like a barnacle attached to our lives. We can't make any real decisions because we're constantly worried about hurting her feelings." I froze, a plate halfway to the dishwasher. "Why don't you just talk to Marcus?" one of her friends asked. Charlotte laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Marcus won't hear a word against precious mommy. But between you and me, she's becoming a real burden. We pay for everything, her food, her medications, even her little knitting supplies. She contributes nothing except taking up space and making our house feel like a nursing home." The women murmured sympathetically. My hands started shaking, but not from hurt, from fury. "I mean, I understand she's lonely," Charlotte continued, "but there are assisted living facilities for people like her. People who've outlived their usefulness." Outlived my usefulness. In my own house. Eating food bought with my own money. I took a deep breath, smoothed my cardigan, and walked into the dining room with a fresh pot of coffee. "Ladies, anyone need a refill?" I asked sweetly, making eye contact with each of them. The room went silent. Charlotte's face turned 3 shades of red, but she recovered quickly. "Oh, Mom, we were just discussing book characters. You know how dramatic fiction can be." I smiled and nodded, playing the sweet, naive mother-in-law they expected me to be. "Of course, dear. Well, I'll just head upstairs and give you ladies your privacy." But I didn't go upstairs. I went to my bedroom and pulled out a business card I hadn't used in 2 years, my estate attorney, Theodore Blackwell. Theodore had helped Robert and me structure our investments and properties for decades. He'd been waiting for this call. "Eleanor," he said warmly when I called the next morning. "I was wondering when I'd hear from you again." "Theodore, it's time," I said simply. "Ah," he paused. "The patience experiment is over?" "Completely over." Within 48 hours, Theodore had prepared everything I needed. The first document was a formal eviction notice, perfectly legal since the house was solely in my name. The second was a complete financial disclosure showing my true net worth. The third was a recording I'd made on my phone during Charlotte's book club meeting. But I wasn't done yet. I spent the next week quietly gathering evidence of Charlotte's true character. She'd been intercepting my mail for months, I discovered, keeping me from seeing bank statements and investment reports. She'd also been telling people in the neighborhood that I was showing signs of dementia, laying groundwork to have me declared incompetent. The final straw came when I overheard her on the phone with a realtor, discussing a quick sale of her property to fund their dream vacation to Europe. She was trying to sell my house. That evening, I prepared for the confrontation of my life. I made dinner as usual, pot roast with mashed potatoes, Marcus's favorite since childhood. I set the table with my good china, the set Robert and I received as a wedding gift 50 years ago. When they sat down to eat, I placed a manila folder next to Jessica's plate. "What's this?" she asked, barely glancing at it. "Your eviction notice," I said calmly, cutting into my roast. "You have 30 days to vacate my property." Marcus dropped his fork. "Mom, what are you talking about?" I opened my own folder and spread the documents across the table. The deed to this house, showing my name as sole owner. Bank statements showing $8.3 million in assets. And a recording of your wife calling me a burden who's outlived her usefulness. Charlotte's face went white. "Eleanor, I can explain." "No need," I interrupted. "I've spent 5 years watching you two, giving you every opportunity to show kindness to someone you believed was poor and helpless. You failed spectacularly." Marcus stared at the bank statements. "Mom, I had no idea you had all of this." "You never asked," I said simply. "In 5 years, neither of you asked about my finances, my investments, or even how I was managing. You just assumed I was broke and pathetic." Charlotte found her voice, though it was shaking. "You tricked us. You lied." "I wore old clothes and shopped carefully," I replied. "You created the narrative that I was poor. I just didn't correct you." "But we took care of you," Marcus protested. I looked at my son, the boy I'd raised alone after Robert died when he was just 16. "Marcus, what exactly did you take care of?" "I paid my own food expenses, my account was linked to yours, you just never noticed. I covered my own medications. This house. I never transferred the deed. You've been paying rent to your own mother for 5 years." The silence was deafening. Charlotte suddenly stood up, her chair scraping against the floor. "This is insane. You can't just throw us out." "Actually, I can." I pulled out another document. "This is a cease and desist order preventing you from selling, mortgaging, or making any claims against my property. Your conversation with Meridian Realty has been recorded and reported as attempted fraud." Marcus buried his face in his hands. "Mom, please. We can work this out." "Can we?" I asked. "Because when your wife needed someone to blame for her unhappiness, she chose the woman who gave you both a home. When she wanted to feel superior, she mocked the clothes and habits of someone she believed was struggling. And when she wanted more money, she tried to sell a house that wasn't hers." I stood up and looked at them both. "I've arranged temporary housing for you at the extended stay on Maple Street. 1 month, fully paid, to give you time to find something permanent. Your belongings will be professionally packed and moved this weekend." Charlotte was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. "Please, Eleanor. I'm sorry. I didn't mean those things I said." "Yes, you did," I said quietly. "That's who you are when you think no one's watching who matters. That's who you are when you think the person in front of you has no power to fight back." Marcus finally looked up. What if we apologize?" "Really apologize?" I felt my heart break a little. My son, my baby, still didn't understand. Marcus, this isn't about apologies. This is about character. For 5 years, you watched your wife treat me like a charity case in my own home. You never stood up for me, never questioned the narrative, never showed curiosity about my actual situation. I walked to the window and looked out at the garden Robert and I had planted together 30 years ago. Your father once told me that you can judge a person's true character by how they treat people they think can't help them. Both of you failed that test. The next morning, I found them packing in silence. Charlotte avoided eye contact, stuffing clothes into suitcases with shaking hands. Marcus moved like a robot, mechanical and defeated. As they loaded the last box into their car, Marcus turned to me. Will you ever forgive us? I thought carefully before answering. I hope someday you'll understand that this isn't about forgiveness, Marcus. It's about consequences. And maybe, if you learn from this, it's about growth. Charlotte was already in the car, staring straight ahead. She never said goodbye. A month later, I got a letter from Marcus. He was living in a small apartment across town, working extra hours to afford the rent he'd never really paid before. Charlotte had moved back in with her parents, and they were taking some time apart to figure things out. The letter was full of apologies and realizations. He wrote about how he'd taken my quiet strength for granted, how he'd let his wife's voice become louder than his own conscience. He asked if we could have coffee sometime. I wrote back, when you're ready to see me as I am instead of who you thought I should be, call me. That was 3 months ago. Yesterday, my phone rang. Mom? It's Marcus. I know I don't deserve it, but could we maybe have that coffee? His voice was different, humbler, sadder, but somehow more genuine than it had been in years. I'd like that, I told him. We're meeting tomorrow at the little cafe downtown, the one where his father proposed to me 51 years ago. I don't know what will happen, but I know this, I'm not the same woman who quietly endured disrespect in her own kitchen. And maybe, just maybe, Marcus isn't the same man who looked away when his mother needed him most. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is the chance to face the consequences of their choices. Sometimes love looks like letting people fall so they can learn to stand up again. As for Charlotte, I heard she's engaged to a wealthy businessman she met at her parents' country club. I hope she's learned something from our time together, but somehow, I doubt it. Some people take lessons from their mistakes. Others just look for softer places to land. But that's her story to write now. Mine? Mine is just beginning. I've started traveling again, something Robert and I always planned to do more of. I've taken painting classes, joined a hiking group for seniors, and even started dating, something I never thought I'd do again. Dr. Martin Patterson, a retired professor I met at the library, has become a wonderful companion. He knows exactly who I am and what I'm worth, and somehow, that makes his genuine interest in my thoughts and stories even more meaningful. The house feels like home again. I've redecorated with colors I actually like instead of Charlotte's sterile whites and grays. The walls are covered with photos of real adventures instead of fake inspirational quotes. The kitchen smells like bread and coffee again instead of chemical air fresheners. And sometimes, when I'm reading in the living room where Charlotte once held court with her book club, I smile. Not because I took revenge, but because I took my power back. You see, the most dangerous people aren't the ones who rage and storm. They're the ones who watch, who remember, and who act with careful precision when the moment is right. They're the ones you underestimate because they choose their battles carefully. I spent 67 years learning that lesson. I hope it didn't take you that long. Wow, what a journey that was. I hope Eleanor's story resonated with you as much as it did with me. Sometimes we have to stand up for ourselves in ways that feel uncomfortable, but that's how we teach people how to treat us. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We share incredible real-life stories like this every week. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. And here's my question for you. Have you ever had to stand up to someone who underestimated you? Maybe a family member, coworker, or friend who thought they could walk all over you? Share your story in the comments below. We read every single one, and if your story is compelling enough, we might feature it in a future video. Don't forget to tell us where you're watching from too. Remember, your story matters, your voice matters, and sometimes the quietest people have the strongest foundations. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.